What happens next? To find out, subscribe and stay tuned for the galaxy's most critical confrontation. During key plot twists, use moments of suspense or major reveals to encourage subscriptions. Drifting through the silent vacuum, the hum of the reconnaissance vessel is the only sound grounding him in reality. Alone at the edge of known space, the vast darkness surrounding him, the pilot keeps his senses alert, half expecting nothing, half expecting everything. An unexpected ping disrupts the silence, a distress signal, faint but persistent. It's coming from an area notorious for being hostile and devoid of life. He shouldn't be detecting anything out here. Curiosity flickers to life, accompanied by a deep-seated instinct to investigate. Whatever it is, someone or something is out there. He follows the signal, navigating through a desolate asteroid belt that feels more like a graveyard than a natural formation. The asteroids hang ominously, their shapes sharp and jagged, casting eerie shadows. Finally, he spots the source, a small, battered alien vessel teetering dangerously close to the edge of an asteroid that's half submerged in the pull of a nearby black hole. The vessel's state is dire, cracked panels, exposed wiring, and the dim glow of dying lights. Whoever is inside doesn't have much time. As he approaches, his scanner flickers, barely picking up life signs inside. Then, through his comms, a weak, fragmented voice breaks through, foreign yet unmistakably pleading. The desperation is raw, and a soft, distressed cry follows, making the pilot's chest tighten. A child. There's a child in there. And a mother. He doesn't understand their language, but the urgency is universal. Every instinct in him screams to turn away. This rescue attempt could easily cost him his life. But he finds his ship drifting closer, compelled by an invisible force stronger than logic. He can't leave them. Hovering just outside the vessel, he scans it more closely, assessing its condition. The engines are barely functional, the hull crumpled like tin foil, and life support systems are failing fast. With a deep breath, he maneuvers his ship closer and, using a handheld laser torch, manages to create a small opening to climb through. The inside of the alien ship is dimly lit, and the air reeks of burnt metal and something he can't quite place, fear, perhaps. He moves cautiously, keeping his hands visible, signaling peace to whoever might be watching. In the heart of the wreck, he finally sees them. The mother stands protectively in front of her child, her body battered, her eyes wide and wary. She's unlike anything he's ever seen, tall and slender, with skin that shimmers in muted hues and eyes that reflect the darkness around her like pools of deep water. Her arms, long and delicate, wrap around her child, a small figure trembling but curious, peeking out from behind her. There's a universal understanding in the mother's eyes, a plea that transcends language. She's desperate yet proud, refusing to let her fears show. His gaze locks onto hers, and he raises his hands again in a gesture of reassurance. With slow, careful movements he approaches, closing the distance step by step until he's close enough to offer a comforting nod. She watches him, tension slowly easing from her stance, her trust given out of necessity rather than belief. The child, sensing the shift, takes a small, uncertain step forward, clutching something in its hand, a tiny piece of alien technology, possibly a toy. It looks up at him, eyes wide and searching, the fear mingling with the innate curiosity of youth. He offers a smile, soft and genuine, even if he isn't sure if they understand. Somehow, it feels right. In as calm and steady a tone as he can muster, he assures them he's here to help. He knows they can't understand his words, but he hopes his tone and gestures convey his intentions. The mother's grip on the child loosens slightly, a silent acknowledgement of his presence. They share a brief look, a moment of understanding that feels like an unspoken promise. Quickly, he begins examining the interior, taking in the scale of the damage. Panels are shattered, sparks flying intermittently from exposed wires. The engines are beyond saving, and the control console flickers with fractured screens displaying unreadable data. It's a disaster. He turns to the mother, gesturing to the ship's exterior, and then pointing to his own vessel, miming a movement that he hopes conveys his plan, to take them somewhere safe. Her expression flickers with hesitation, fear of the unknown mixed with a glimmer of hope. As he starts to backtrack toward the opening, motioning for them to follow, he feels a small hand tugging at his sleeve. The child is standing beside him, staring up with an expression that is both trusting and anxious. Gently he nods, his heart swelling with a sense of responsibility he hadn't anticipated. He'll get them out of here. He has to. Guiding them carefully through the wreckage, he hears a low groan echo through the ship, the metal around them straining against the gravitational forces of the black hole. Time is running out. He pushes back the growing sense of urgency and moves faster, ushering them toward the opening. The mother's steps are unsteady, her injuries more severe than they appeared at first glance. Without a second thought, he slips his arm under her shoulders, supporting her weight. She flinches initially but doesn't pull away, letting herself lean on him as they make their way to the exit. Finally, they reach his ship, and he helps them settle inside, securing the mother and child into the seats. He glances back at them, his gaze lingering on the child, who's still clutching that small piece of technology, eyes glued to him with an intensity that speaks volumes. A quiet determination settles within him. This isn't just a rescue, it's a promise, a vow to bring them to safety no matter the cost. Back in the cockpit, he initiates the startup sequence, fingers moving swiftly over the controls. The engines roar to life, a steady hum that fills the cabin with a sense of purpose. His own heart pounds in time with the rhythm, the weight of what he's taken on settling heavily on his shoulders. Yet he wouldn't have it any other way. The ship jerks forward, pulling away from the alien vessel, and he can see through the viewport how close they were to being swallowed by the abyss. The black hole looms large, a reminder of the fate they narrowly escaped. He spares a glance back, and the mother meets his eyes, a mixture of gratitude and something else, perhaps relief, perhaps respect. He focuses on the task ahead, navigating through the asteroid field with precise, calculated movements. The ship's sensors flash with warnings, the gravitational forces pulling at them, trying to drag them back. But he presses on, fingers gripping the controls with a white-knuckled grip. They're not safe yet, but with every passing second, they're closer to the edge of danger. As they clear the worst of the debris, he finally allows himself a breath of relief. They're safe. Or as close to it as one can be this far from civilization. He turns to the mother and child, offering a reassuring smile. The child's face lights up with something that might be joy, and the mother, though exhausted, manages a small nod of acknowledgement. It's only then that he realizes the significance of what he's done. In a galaxy teeming with unknown dangers, he made a choice driven by compassion rather than logic. He reached out to strangers, risking his own life to save them, not because it made sense, but because it was the right thing to do. And as he watches the mother and child settle, safe and alive, he feels a sense of fulfillment he can't quite put into words. For the first time in what feels like ages, he allows himself to relax, his mind drifting back to that moment on the alien ship, the look in the mother's eyes, the quiet trust of the child. He knows this experience will stay with him, a reminder of the unbreakable bond formed in the face of impossible odds, and the promise he made to a mother and her child on the edge of a black hole. The damage to the alien ship is extensive, and he can feel the ticking clock in every groan and creak of metal. He begins with a quick assessment, noting down the critical failures: the engine, cracked beyond repair, life support, hanging on by a thread, and a leaking fuel line that could ignite with the slightest spark. His own ship wasn't equipped for heavy-duty rescues, and his supplies are limited, but he has to make do. Calculating a plan on the fly, he decides to divert some of his ship's auxiliary power into the alien vessel, hoping to give them enough time to stabilize. Returning inside the alien craft, he explains his intentions as best he can, even if the mother and child don't fully understand. It's their expressions he focuses on, the quiet fear and spark of trust in their eyes as they watch him work. Using the few tools he brought with him, he gets to work on the external power transfer. Sweat beads on his brow as he wrestles with fraying cables and uncooperative circuits, fingers fumbling in the cold, metallic air. His own ship's systems flicker in protest, warning him he's stretching their limits. But he presses on, seeing in his mind's eye the fragile forms of the mother and child. Just as he thinks he's made some progress, A warning alert sounds from his comm system. A minor asteroid has shifted off course, its path now headed toward their location. With little time to react, he rushes back inside, calling to the mother and child, his voice urgent but calm. The mother catches on, her eyes widening with understanding as she shields her child, pressing herself against the wall of the vessel. He braces, counting down in his head as he watches the trajectory on his scanner, praying it will miss them. A rumble echoes through the ship, shuddering with the impact of a near miss, fragments of rock scraping along the hull like nails on metal. They're safe, but it's a reminder of the fragility of their situation. Returning to his task, he makes headway on stabilizing the life support systems, knowing it's the bare minimum they need to survive until they're safe. The mother watches him carefully, studying his every move, seemingly aware of the strain and determination in his efforts. There's a moment when she reaches out, resting her hand on his shoulder in silent acknowledgement. The gesture surprises him, grounding him in a way he hadn't anticipated, as if her touch carries a weight of understanding and gratitude he can't ignore. It bolsters him, pushing him to work faster, think sharper. With life support somewhat stabilized, he turns his attention to the failing communications array. He knows they'll need to contact his ship for precise coordination if they want to leave this perilous spot. As he works, he senses the alien child watching him closely, mimicking his movements, tiny fingers tracing the gestures he makes over the panel. A smile tugs at his lips, a rare and unexpected lightness in the midst of this tense situation. He catches the child's gaze, nodding to show he appreciates their attention, their trust. It's a simple exchange, but in that moment, it feels monumental, as if he's building a bridge with every glance and shared expression. Then, disaster strikes. A burst of static fills the air, followed by a dull, ominous whine from the ship's core systems. The hastily patched connections aren't holding. The alien vessel is rejecting the borrowed energy, its damaged circuits unable to handle the unfamiliar inputs. He mutters a curse under his breath, scrambling to stabilize the flow. But it's no use. His improvised solution is failing. The ship is slipping away again, caught between his attempt to revive it and the forces that are relentlessly dragging it down. It's at this moment he realizes he's facing an impossible choice. If he doesn't do something drastic, the alien mother and child won't survive. He assesses his own vessel, knowing that to reroute even more power would be to endanger his own systems. But the thought of abandoning them feels like a betrayal he can't live with. With grim determination, he redirects a significant portion of his ship's core power, creating a lifeline strong enough to pull the alien vessel back from the brink, even if it risks his own survival. The mother senses the change, her eyes widening as she realizes the extent of what he's sacrificing. There's an unspoken understanding between them, a silent gratitude that transcends language. She holds his gaze, her expression fierce and resolute, as if she's willing him to succeed, willing him to survive despite the risks he's taking. She doesn't plead or protest. Instead, she offers him a look of solidarity, a testament to her own courage in the face of this harrowing ordeal. As he works, he feels the strain on his own systems, his vessel's alarms blaring in protest. The energy transfer is destabilizing his craft, creating a feedback loop that threatens to overload both ships. He ignores the warning lights, fingers flying over the controls as he fine-tunes the power distribution, hoping against hope that his gamble will pay off. His ship shudders, its systems flickering, but the alien vessel finally responds, stabilizing as the power surge takes hold. He lets out a breath he didn't realize he was holding, the weight of relief crashing over him even as he knows they're not out of danger yet. Once the transfer holds, he moves swiftly to communicate his escape plan. Through gestures and careful movements, he conveys the idea of tethering their two ships, linking them together to use the combined propulsion to break free from the gravitational pull of the black hole. The mother listens intently, nodding slowly as she grasps his intention, a spark of hope lighting in her eyes. In a last act of preparation, he checks the connections one more time, making sure the tether is secure. He knows this maneuver will require precision and trust, not only in his equipment but in their fragile bond. The child, sensing the shift in urgency, clings to their mother, wide eyes reflecting a mix of fear and anticipation. The mother draws them close, her gaze unwavering, silently communicating to the pilot that she's ready, that they're both ready. They brace themselves as he initiates the sequence, engines humming to life in unison. The ships lurch forward, straining against the pull, every inch gained a battle against the relentless gravitational force. He keeps his focus sharp, hands steady on the controls, heart pounding as he feels the intensity of the moment weigh heavily upon him. Each second feels like an eternity, the tension mounting as they fight their way forward. Just when it seems they're gaining ground, another obstacle emerges. The gravitational eddies near the black hole create a sudden, violent shift, tugging at the tether and throwing both vessels off course. He grips the controls tighter, jaw clenched as he fights to regain stability. The strain is evident, but he pushes on, refusing to let the moment slip away. He knows that if they falter now, there will be no second chance. With a final surge of effort, he brings the ships back on course, feeling the resistance lessen as they inch closer to safety. The mother watches him, her expression one of awe and admiration, as if she's seeing the very best of what humanity has to offer. Her gaze is unwavering, filled with a gratitude that speaks louder than words, a silent acknowledgement of the risks he's taken for them. At last, they break free of the black hole's influence, the vast expanse of space opening up before them like a promise fulfilled. He exhales deeply, the tension in his body giving way to a profound sense of relief. The alien ship stabilizes, their combined efforts finally paying off. He turns to look at the mother and child, offering a nod that feels as much a salute as a farewell. The mother returns his gaze, a quiet pride in her expression, as if acknowledging the strength he's shown, the compassion that brought them through. In that shared moment, he knows he's made a lasting impact, a connection that transcends the boundaries of species and space. And as they drift further into the vastness of the stars, he feels a quiet satisfaction settle within him, a promise kept, a bond formed, and a new understanding of what it truly means to be human. The preparations are complete, but he knows that what lies ahead will demand every bit of skill he possesses. With the ships tethered together, he fires up the engines, feeling the simultaneous hum of power between both vessels. His ship, carrying the brunt of the work, groans under the strain. Every dial, every gauge blinks in protest as he pushes them into motion. He gives one final glance back at the mother and child, catching the determined expression in her eyes, a mirror of his own resolve. There's no turning back now. They begin the escape, engines surging as they break away from the gravitational pull. But the black hole is unforgiving, its force relentless, tugging at them with invisible hands that threaten to pull them into oblivion. He maintains a white-knuckled grip on the controls, mind racing through each move. Every small shift in pressure, every jolt, demands rapid adjustments. It's as if he's wrestling with the very fabric of space itself, but he refuses to let up, knowing that lives depend on his precision. The pull increases, straining the tether binding them. Alarms ring out, warning of the increasing stress on the ship's hull. He knows the structure can only take so much before the tether gives out. Gritting his teeth, he diverts more power to the engines, pushing them to their limits. His own ship strains under the demand, each vibration a reminder of how close they are to disaster. The black hole looms behind them, a monstrous presence he can feel in every bone, its pull palpable even from inside the ship. Through it all, he can feel the trust of the mother and child behind him, their silent belief in his abilities anchoring him against the overwhelming odds. There's a point where he glances back, locking eyes with the mother. She gives him a single, resolute nod. The gesture is small, but it stirs something deep within him, a reminder that he isn't just fighting for survival, he's fighting for the lives that have come to depend on him. It fuels him, steeling his resolve. Suddenly, a gravitational eddy catches them, throwing the ship sideways in a brutal, unrelenting pull. He grunts as he yanks the controls, countering the force as best he can, his muscles tense with the strain. The ships lurch, caught between opposing forces, every second stretching painfully as he battles to keep them on course. The display screens flash with warnings, heat levels spiking as the engines roar. He pushes everything into keeping them steady, drawing on reserves he didn't even know he had. In a final, desperate attempt, he initiates a synchronized maneuver, using thrusters from both ships to stabilize their course. He feels the grip of the black hole lessen, but only slightly. It's enough to give him hope, a glimmer of light in the oppressive darkness. He presses forward, pouring everything into the engines, the sheer force rattling every bone in his body. The ship shudders violently, metal groaning as if it's about to tear apart. Yet he holds his focus, every sense tuned to the trajectory, each second a battle won. Just as he thinks they might have a clear path, another warning flashes on the console. The strain on the tether is reaching its critical point, the metal beginning to fray. He can almost hear the invisible threads snapping under pressure. He knows that if it snaps now, the alien ship will be thrown back into the black hole's pull, and there won't be a chance for recovery. His heart races as he calculates the remaining distance to safety, fingers dancing over the controls in a frantic effort to distribute the load. He diverts even more power, knowing it's a gamble, a risk that could overload his own systems. The engines flare, burning brighter, their roar deafening in the confined space of the cockpit. Sweat drips down his face, his breath shallow and rapid, but he keeps his focus sharp, every nerve attuned to the task. Behind him, he senses the mother watching, her presence a silent reminder of what's at stake. The ship lurches as he forces it forward, the tether straining beyond its limits. It's a moment of pure tension, every ounce of energy channeled into maintaining their course. He can feel the engines reaching their breaking point, circuits heating dangerously close to critical. But then, just as the tether seems on the verge of snapping, they clear the pull of the black hole, breaking free into open space. The pressure lifts, the silence in the aftermath almost deafening. They've made it. Relief floods over him, but it's brief. He knows the damage to both ships is severe, the toll evident in every flickering light and labored sound of the engines. Turning to check on the mother and child, he catches sight of their expressions, relief mingled with awe, their eyes filled with something he recognizes as gratitude and respect. They don't need words to convey their feelings. He can see it in their gaze, the way the mother holds her child close, a soft, almost reverent look directed his way. As they drift away from the black hole's edge, he stabilizes their course, making adjustments to keep the ship steady. His body feels the toll of the intense struggle, muscles aching, exhaustion settling in with a weight that's impossible to ignore. But the sense of accomplishment is undeniable, the knowledge that he kept his promise fueling a quiet satisfaction that runs deeper than any physical pain. The mother reaches out to him, her slender fingers forming a gesture that seems to convey thanks. He returns the gesture, a simple nod, acknowledging the bond forged between them through shared danger and survival. It's a bond that transcends words, a mutual understanding rooted in their experience. The child watches the exchange, wide-eyed and fascinated, clutching onto their mother with a mix of security and wonder. He turns back to his controls, setting a course away from the black hole and toward a safer region of space. They're not out of danger completely, but the worst is behind them. As he charts their path, he finds himself reflecting on what just happened, the sheer improbability of the encounter. He thinks of the choices he made, the risks he took for beings he never met, beings who didn't share his language, his species, his world. And yet, in those crucial moments, none of that had mattered. They were simply lives worth saving. A feeling of quiet satisfaction settles over him, a sense of purpose fulfilled. The mother and child had given him a renewed sense of what it meant to be human, to reach out in compassion without expectation, to act out of kindness in a universe often cold and indifferent. He realizes that this journey will stay with him, a reminder of his own capacity for bravery, for empathy, and for connection that stretches beyond the boundaries of species and origin. As they drift further into open space, he spares one last look at the mother and child, their presence a testament to the shared resilience of life, to the quiet strength that had brought them through together. In the vastness of the stars around them, he knows he's made a difference, not only in their lives but in his own. He's kept his promise, a vow made in the heat of desperation and fulfilled through sheer determination. It's a victory unmarked by accolades or recognition, but one that fills him with a profound sense of accomplishment, a moment in which he truly feels the boundless potential of humanity. With a final, reassuring nod to the mother, he focuses on the path ahead, steering them towards safety, a future now possible because of the connection they forged in the face of impossible odds. And as they move forward, he knows that no matter where his journey takes him, this encounter will remain etched into his memory, a testament to the strength found in unity and the courage born of compassion. The engines hum softly as they drift further from the black hole, the calm after the storm settling over them like a welcome blanket. He's exhausted, every muscle sore, every nerve frayed, but a deep satisfaction runs through him. They made it. He kept his promise. Glancing back at the mother and child, he sees them gazing around the ship, taking in the safety and security it now offers, their eyes wide with cautious hope. There's a look in the mother's gaze, a profound gratitude that transcends language, reaching out to him without words. As the reality of their survival settles in, she takes a small, intricate object from her belongings, something she's kept protected even through the chaos. She hands it to him with a sense of solemnity, as if entrusting him with a piece of her history. The object is unique, alien in design, yet crafted with care. He understands it immediately for what it is, a token of thanks, a symbol of their shared journey. Holding it in his hand, he feels a surge of warmth, an unspoken acknowledgement of the bond they've formed, born of shared struggle and resilience. The child watches this exchange, curiosity replacing the fear that once filled their eyes. They approach him, small and cautious, eyes bright with wonder. In a gesture of trust, they reach up and place their tiny hand on his arm, the touch both innocent and profound. It's as if they're sealing a pact, a quiet promise that they, too, will remember this day. He returns the gesture, ruffling their head gently, feeling a connection that defies any barrier of species or language. The child's face lights up with a shy smile, and the mother, seeing this, offers him a nod filled with deep respect. His own ship's systems have sustained some damage, and they will need to make repairs soon. But right now, in the peaceful drift of open space, there's no urgency. They've escaped the pull of the black hole, and for the first time, the tension in his shoulders eases. He programs a stable course for a nearby safe sector, a place where he can repair his ship and, if necessary, arrange transport for the mother and child back to their people. Even as he does so, a part of him feels reluctant to let go, to watch them disappear into the stars. As they settle into the calm, the mother gestures toward him, a series of hand movements that seem oddly ceremonial. She places a hand over her heart, then extends it outward, her eyes filled with a warmth he didn't expect. It dawns on him that this is her way of expressing gratitude, a ritual that her people may use to honor those who've shown courage and compassion. He mirrors the gesture, his hand on his chest, a nod of acknowledgement that he hopes conveys his own gratitude for their trust in him. The mother's eyes soften, and for the first time, he senses that she no longer sees him as just a rescuer but as someone she considers kin. In that shared moment, he realizes he's made an impact that will last, not just for them but for himself as well. This isn't just a rescue, it's a reminder of the deep resilience that lives within them all, human and alien alike. They may be from different worlds, shaped by different forces, but in that fragile vessel on the edge of a black hole, they found unity in survival, and the basic desire to protect and persevere. This encounter, brief but intense, will stay with him as a testament to the strength of connection, the silent power of compassion. He begins to think about what will come next for them. Perhaps they'll return to their own people, tell stories of this day, of the human who reached across the chasm of space and saved them from certain death. Perhaps, one day, their paths will cross again, and they'll greet each other as friends, no longer strangers. Or maybe they'll never meet again, but the memory of this experience will continue to shape them, a quiet reminder of the resilience and kindness that exists even in the darkest parts of the universe. In the stillness, he feels a renewed sense of purpose. His journey through space had always been one of exploration and survival, but this encounter has reminded him of something deeper. The universe is vast, filled with unknown dangers, but also with beings worth reaching out to, worth saving. His actions today were not born out of duty alone, but out of a commitment to a shared existence, a belief in the value of every life, no matter how different. He knows he won't forget this The feel of the child's hand on his arm, the weight of the mother's solemn gaze, the quiet understanding they all share now. As he adjusts the ship's navigation, he makes a mental promise to carry this memory forward, to remind himself of the power of compassion, the strength of unity in the face of overwhelming odds. It's a lesson that extends beyond the confines of this small ship, reaching into the very essence of who he is and who he chooses to be. With the mother and child resting safely, he takes a moment to examine the token she gave him. Its intricate design glimmers softly, a symbol of their shared journey, of the trust they placed in him. He wonders about its origins, about what it might mean to her people. Holding it close, he feels an odd sense of peace, as if this small object has come to embody everything they've been through together. It's a keepsake, a reminder of the day he became not just an explorer, but a protector, a symbol of the good that can emerge even in the vast, indifferent stretches of space. He glances over his shoulder one last time, taking in the sight of the mother and child settled peacefully in the cabin. They're safe now, secure in the knowledge that they're out of danger, free from the pull of the black hole that almost claimed them. He feels a quiet pride, a satisfaction that goes beyond any recognition or reward. This was a rescue mission without orders, a choice made from the heart, guided by nothing more than the belief in doing what was right. As they move forward, the stars stretch out before them, endless and full of possibility. He knows the journey isn't over. There will be more dangers, more challenges. But he feels ready, grounded by the knowledge that he's not alone in this universe. Somewhere out there, the mother and child's people may one day hear of this encounter, perhaps even carry it forward as a story of hope, a reminder of the day when a human reached into the dark and pulled two strangers back from the edge. In this vast, boundless cosmos, it's easy to feel insignificant, to believe that one action cannot change the course of things. But as he looks at the token in his hand, as he remembers the mother's solemn gratitude and the child's trusting touch, he knows that this day has made a difference. Not just for them, but for himself. This journey has reminded him that even in the cold expanse of space, warmth can be found, connections can be made, and lives can be saved, not out of duty, but out of something greater. As the stars blur into streaks of light around them, he lets the weight of the moment settle into his bones. He is a traveler, a rescuer, a witness to the enduring strength of kindness. And as he moves forward, he knows that no matter where his path takes him, this bond, this silent understanding, will remain a part of him, a beacon in the darkness, a reminder of the promise he made and kept.